All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Dark Sky by C.J. Box. And OMG, was this book off the hook. It was fantastic. As you know, C.J. Box is one of my favorite writers. The Joe Pickett series, one of my favorite mystery series. And this Dark Sky, which is book number 21 in his Joe Pickett series, is probably one of my favorite. I mean, I've got we'll pan through the library here, and I'll show you. I've got my entire C.J. Box collection right up there. Anyway, just one of my favorite writers, and we've been reviewing all of his books one at a time. We're to book number 21 in the C.J. Box Joe Pickett series. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. This one it's all colorful, you know, it's all right. It's a silhouette of a cowboy. It's pretty cool. Who is the cowboy? Well, it's Joe Pickett. He's a game warden in Wyoming. These books are set in modern times. Now, 21 books. When we first started with Joe Pickett, he was a young game warden with a very young family. Now he's 51 years old in this book. Most of his 3 children have grown up to be adults. And throughout the series, we've watched him in his game warden career and his family as they've grown up around him. It's just great. You're invested in all the characters. You're invested in all of 3 girls that he's raised and his wife and all the people in the community that are part of this series. It's just absolutely fantastic. Now this one opens up with Joe waiting at the airport for a plane to land up in Wyoming, a small town airport. Plane lands, off walks one of the most well-known rich silicon billionaires that has started a social media company that rivals Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. My notes fell to the ground. My notes fell to the ground. We're going to tape them back up here. And then edit the part out where they fell to the ground. But anyway, okay, so back to the story here. There's a billionaire. He's flying into Wyoming. He's started this huge social media company that is bigger than Facebook, bigger than TikTok, bigger than Instagram. Of course, it's a made-up. It's not real. It's not based off any real person. But this billionaire is flying into Wyoming because every year this billionaire gets a hankering to learn something about the world and he becomes obsessed with it. Well, this time he's learned that he wants to grow his own food and kill his own food. He does not want to buy anything from a supermarket. He's like, and so part of this is he wants to go elk hunting in Wyoming, and the governor of Wyoming wants this guy to have the greatest experience on the elk hunt, because if this guy happens to have the greatest experience on the elk hunt, he might just put a new, huge, big, massive technological business in Wyoming that will bring in a lot of jobs and a lot of tax money. So the governor has tasked Joe Pickett, the game warden, take this guy out as a guide, and you go get him the biggest, baddest elk you can find, and make sure this guy has the greatest experience of his life, because we need this big business in Wyoming. And Joe Pickett's just kind of like, I do not want to do this. Especially when he meets this Silicon Valley billionaire whose name is Price, but his nickname is Steve 2, because he's Steve Jobs Part 2, right? So his nickname is Steve 2, and he's referred to in the book as Steve 2. His social media, which he posts to his own social media faster than Donald Trump. You know, it's like every 5 minutes he's posting something new to his own social media. So he's on social media just constantly, his own platform, right? And he's just the most annoying dude you can imagine. As soon as he gets off the airplane, he's taking selfies and doing little TikTok videos, just making an absolute ass of himself. Corny cornball ass. More cornball, if you can imagine, than I am on this channel, which is pretty and cornball. Okay. And so, as I was describing this guy, I was like, oh shit, kind of describing myself, just without the $1 billion. But anyway, I digress. This guy and his assistant is the main character, one of the most annoying people on the planet. And then his bodyguard. There's 3 of them that go on the elk hunt. The billionaire, the assistant, and the bodyguard. 3 of the most objectionable human beings you could ever want to take out into the wilderness on an elk hunt. Just all of them just entitled, mouthy, stupid as in the wilderness. And Joe Pickett has to go out and show them a great elk hunt. Well, things aren't as they seem. Because there's a lot of people that want this billionaire dead. And once they get into the mountains, one of the main people that want this billionaire dead is a local guide. There's another, believe it or not, Wyoming has a lot of hunting guides. And there's this other local hunting guide that's got a beef not only with Joe Pickett, our game warden, but he's also got a beef with the Silicon Valley billionaire. And I won't explain what the beef is because that's a big spoilery. But he's got a beef with the Silicon billionaire. He's got a beef with Joe Pickett. And he takes his 2 sons with him. Again, 3 more people in the story that are about the most annoying, objectionable, evil people you can imagine. And these guys are up in the mountains. As Joe Pickett takes his guy out for an elk hunt, these 3 yahoos, these 3 country bumpkin evil people are out hunting Joe Pickett and the billionaire. And it just spirals into absolute chaos in the Wyoming mountains. And it was delightful. Now there's other characters, of course. There's Joe Pickett's wife, who becomes concerned because Joe Pickett is good about calling her a couple times a day to let her know where he's at. Stops calling. Another thing is I explained to you, this Silicon billionaire is posting stuff to his social media every 5 minutes. Well, that goes dead silent. So now the whole world is like, what happened? What happened? He went on an elk hunt. He was posting about this wonderful elk hunt. What happened? What happened to it? He's not posting no more. And then of course Joe Pickett's daughter Sheridan, who we meet in book number 1 is just a little girl. Now she's an adult woman, and she's working for Romanowski. Now Romanowski has been in all of the books. He is Joe Pickett's kind of tough guy. He's the Jack Reacher of the series. He watches over Joe Pickett's family. Now Romanowski's married, and he owns a falconry business. He trains falcons, and he's hired Joe Pickett's adult daughter to help him with the falconry. And they get involved in the plot, of course. So everybody's involved in the plot. What happened to Joe Pickett? What happened to the elk hunt? What's going on? And then, of course, we get the perspectives of the bad guys and the good guys up in the wilderness of Wyoming as they chase each other around. It's just an absolute fantastic story. Probably after book number 1, this might be book number 21, my second favorite in the Joe Pickett series. It's just absolutely dynamite. I liked everything about it. A solid 10 out of 10 for Dark Sky. Book 21 in the Joe Pickett series by C.J. Box. Absolutely phenomenal.